Welcome back to the Hero's Journey podcast. We're on episode number 46. I'm your host, Nick. We are looking at Golden Age comics, reading our way through. And when we last saw each other, we were in November 1944. So we're going to pick up where we left off. So let us see what 10 comic books I've been looking at. Now, remember, we're using the new format where at the end, I'll tell you which one of the books was the most valuable in terms of current sales in the market. So let's have a look. Here we go. All right, first up, Captain Marvel Adventures 41. This is from Fawcett, November 1944. It's a fun cover. Captain Marvel finally getting some recognition, being hoisted on some shoulders. Unfortunately, I find that the trade dress is okay on this one. Captain Marvel's in front of it, great. But unfortunately, the strip on the bottom really takes away. It's very distracting. I don't like it. And also, just to say that the world's mightiest mortal visits Dayton, Ohio, really, that I don't believe was necessary. All right, so in this issue, there are 4 Captain Marvel stories. In the first one, Captain Marvel is warned by Shazam that the deadly enemies of man, represented by humans, including Dr. Savannah, are convening as they do every 4 years to figure out how to eliminate Captain Marvel. Oh, here, I thought this was fun. This is when Billy Batson goes to visit the wizard, who's known as Shazam. He has to walk by these statues, which are the 7 deadly enemies of man. And it's really just we might know them more commonly in the modern age as the 7 deadly sins. Those guys are all there. In the next story, Captain Marvel thwarts the plan of Japanese spies to murder returning American war heroes. After that, Captain Marvel has a misunderstanding and believes to be running for the President of the United States when he's really being elected as High President of the Ancient Society of Moose. So kind of a fun story there, but that's what your cover story is about. In the final story, Captain Marvel puts a stop to Mr. Mind's plan to publish a book full of propaganda. And this is chapter 20 out of 25 of the Mr. Mind serial. Now, this page here takes from the one where he thinks he's running for president. I just thought it was interesting. If you look at the necks on these characters, they're really thick, especially I found in the bottom 2 panels. If you're looking at Billy Batson, that kid's got the thickest neck ever. It's unbelievable. I just thought it was a fun page to show. Why not? All right, next up, Captain Marvel Jr., number 25, is also from Fawcett. This is also from November 1944. Oh, I wanted to show you, forgot to say, this politician walking in at the bottom of the page, his name is Philip Buster. I thought that was pretty clever for a politician to be named Philip Buster. That's fun. Sorry, back to Captain Marvel Jr. 25. Here we go, climbing post, hoisting the flag. It's great. He's encouraging the troops. So you got 3 Captain Marvel Jr. stories in this issue. First up, Captain Marvel Jr. is on hand when the Japanese Navy creates a huge chasm under the Panama Canal that sucks in all the water and nearby ships. And then here was the illustration to show a little bit about how that works. There's apparently a natural cavern underneath the Panama Canal, and the Japanese the military decided to tunnel underneath and just pull all the water out of the channel. Next up, Captain Marvel Jr. puts an end to a stolen car ring. And finally, Captain Marvel Jr. ends up in Greece to help some kids free their mayor being held captive by Nazis. Now, here, I saw this panel. I just thought this was actually a good depiction of a superhero taking off. I thought it was great seeing Captain Marvel Jr. just take off like that. It's fantastic. Next up, this is from the last story where Captain Marvel Jr. travels to Greece. So the soldier in the panels here is firing a flamethrower. Look, you can see that they had red ink, yellows. You could have made that look a little more flamey. No, worst flamethrower ever. I thought it was terrible. Just throw some color in there. Come on, make it look like you're actually going to burn him instead of just smoking him out like he's a bee. All right, after that, we have Comet Cavalcade number 9. This is from DC. This is a winter 1944 issue, and this is the first Christmas cover that we're looking at. So it seems a little early, but well, it is what it is. This is the winter issue. I don't want to tell you. You got 15-cent issue, so this is another thick story here, or a thick comic book. We got Wonder Woman. She chases Steve Trevor after he goes hunting for and gets captured by mermaids. And then the Green Lantern saves Doiby Dickles' life by convincing a hospital committee to allow a doctor of a different religion to operate in their hospital. So a whole bit of a racial religion thing going on. And then there was a Flash story, and I neglected to write some notes about the Flash story. So let's assume it was fun. Here's a shot of the from the Wonder Woman story where Steve Trevor goes to investigate the mermaids. Yeah, so if you can see in the top left corner here, that panel, that's Steve Trevor flying in. He's like, oh, I'll just land on that little island and go investigate. I don't know about you, but that's a pretty small island. There's no landing strip. There's no even open area. There's not even any space for this guy to land. And then on the bottom right panel, so he's like, oh, I'll just dive in with the mermaids. That sounds like fun. And he keeps his socks on. I love it. That's fantastic. Why wouldn't you? Also in the Wonder Woman story, so Wonder Woman goes after Steve Trevor. And I just found this page was lacking a lot of detail, especially Wonder Woman. If you look at the three of the panels with Wonder Woman in her plane, there's no detail. Top right, just a stick figure, invisible plane. Yeah, I could have drawn that. The bottom left, a little more detail on the stick figure, but now she's pulling up a whole bunch of other stick figures in what looks like a wagon. And then in the middle panel of the page, it's a 3-year-old's drawing. I don't know what happened there. Kind of fooling that one in for sure. All right, moving on. Detective Comics number 93, DC, November 1944. You got Batman jumping to save Robin, who's bound on the cover there. Batman and Robin track down a hijacked sightseeing bus where a rival gangster was murdered for stolen money. Bum, bum, bum. And I'm just showing this page because I like the art in this. Looked good. Liked it. Very interesting. And some interesting fight scenes. Really, I didn't have much else to say about that. I just really wanted to show that this was kind of a typical page from the story, and good fight scene. Love it. Okay, Flash Comics number 59. This is from DC, November 1944. The Flash chases off some gangsters off the land belonging to Native Americans that were trying to steal the gold in their mountain. Next up, Johnny Thunder dresses like a famous movie director in order to get Peachy Pet into the movies. And Hawkman and Hawkgirl get involved when a modern-day Pied Piper is being taken advantage of by thieves who use his musical ability to freeze people in place and then rob them. This isn't the worst cover. It's an okay Hawkman cover. It looks like he's using musical notes to beat up the bad guys. So why not? All right, so this is pretty interesting. Now I did kind of talk about this before, how the supply of Capoc, I don't know how you pronounce that, was severely limited during World War II. And then they were encouraging you, if you lived in that list of states down the middle column of the page, if you lived in that state, they encouraged you to send off your milkweed so that they could be used for life jackets. I thought that was really neat that they were singling out specific states to do this. Now there's a lot listed there. I'd say, I don't know what, half, maybe more than half. Very neat idea. And then this issue, Flash Comics, included a story of Leif Erikson, the Norseman. So, fun story there. All right, Master Comics number 56, Fawcett, November 1944. You got my buddy Radar on the cover, so you know it's going to be a good issue for sure. I kind of like the cover. Got good action there, some planes coming into bomb. So you've got, all right, I'm going to mess this up, but I'm going to do my best. So on the bottom of that plane, there was a word there, and I was very interested to find out what that word meant. So it says Vergeltungswaffen. Vergeltungswaffen. All right, it means a particular set of long-range artillery weapons designed for strategic bombing during World War II. Seems appropriate. They seem like long-range artillery weapons. So in the first story, Radar heads to the Azores, where he finds the Nazis treating their prisoners with kindness in an effort to fool the world. A Radar sees through it because it's Radar, and that guy's awesome. Captain Marvel Jr. travels to ancient Egypt to discover how they built the pyramids to solve a modern day problem. Now, this issue featured an ad where you could send away for some magic tricks to learn how to be a magician. So you get for $2, postage paid. That's a $5 value. You get the complete equipment for 10 professional type tricks. How fun is that? All right, Miss America magazine number 2. This is from Timely. This is November 1944. Okay, so lots going on here. So this is the first issue in the series, technically, because it continues from Miss America comic. Miss America comic number 1 was just Miss America and stories about her. And then now it continues into Miss America magazine, which is a different format. It does feature a couple of cartoon comic strip stories in it, but it also includes some other features which are more magazine style, featured stories and photo spreads. And the young girl on the cover, I'd say this is it's an interesting photo cover. Young girl on the cover, turns out she's 15 years old, doing a good job of representing good cosplay there, I guess. Obviously it was a photo shoot, but looks good. In the first story, in the only story, Miss America tracks down the Shocker to his secret lair after he commits some robberies by being able to store and discharge electricity from electric eels. So here, let's look at some stuff in the comic here. So this is the Shocker in action. The original Shocker, not to be confused with the Spider-Man villain. This was his only appearance. He didn't come back. He dies in the end. And then here's one of the features from the magazine. I thought this was great. Does it not look like it's from the 1940s? Are you having dating problems? And then it's a whole story. It's a whole feature about how we can help you out. And these are the things girls talk about: dates, boys, and clothes, and how to be popular. Jane discusses these vital problems. So let's get together with her. That's awesome. Then you got some fashion section, right? Fashions for teens in the 1940s. How cool is that? All right, now this issue is known for a fairly big first appearance. It is Patsy Walker, who will be later known as Hellcat. I'm not going to be reading the Patsy Walker stories in this issue until she decides to change and to become more of a superhero. I'm not doing the teenage romance dating stories. I'm okay with that. That's not for me. It doesn't fall under the superhero criteria for my project here. But anyways, if you want to see Patsy Walker, what she looked like in the first panel she appeared in Ever, this is it. Okay, More Fun Comics number 100 is from DC, November, December 1944. Just a fun little fact. This is the first issue 100 of my project. In fact, there's other issue 100s out there that were published before this, but this is the first issue 100 in the project. And I only started reading the series somewhere in like the late 50s. So I certainly haven't read nearly 100 of the issues. First story, Johnny Quick saves his buddy, Tubby Watts, from embarrassment after a hobo uncle pretends to have died and left him a fortune. Aquaman helps a ship captain get rid of his crew after they use him as the scapegoat for the illegal whaling activities. Green Arrow and Speedy find out that some gangsters are trying to pit them against one another, take them down. The Spectre and Percival lure some crooks to the house of a wounded police officer so that he can collect the reward money and get an operation for his son. So this is from the Tubby Watts story. You'll have to pardon the image. It's not the clearest, not the sharpest, but that's the scan I had. So I just like the name of the charities that were coming to ask Tubby Watts for some money. He had the Home for Friendless Felines, and then the Foundation for Unfortunate Flea Circus Owners. Those are great. Okay, and then this is great. This is Green Arrow and Speedy. Maybe not the greatest art in this panel, but so the in this panel, Speedy is very concerned because he has to get to the random high school for a speaking engagement. Like, random high school? You couldn't come up with a name for the high school like St. Joe's or, All American, anything. Random high school. I have a date to speak to the kids at the random high school. All right, why not? So this is something that shows up in a lot of the comics of the day, DC Comics, and it has to do with kind of keeping your mouth shut, I guess. You never know who's listening. In World War II, you never know what kind of information could be vital and could get out there. So basically, they're telling you how easy it is for the information to get out. You tell it to someone who repeats it to someone who's overheard by someone in Axis Pay. So someone may die. So that's it. It's a very clear message, a little ominous for sure, but definitely keep your secrets to yourself. Kind of world they were living in. Okay, next up, Mystic Comics #2 of Volume 2. This is from Timely Fall 1944. Got a great Sid Shores cover here with it's a bondage cover, red dress distress. I actually really like the movement of the angel and how he's drawn on the cover. I think it looks good. He's really coming in with some high flying action for sure as he's being shot at, and some crazy huge skeleton guys about to inject that woman in the red outfit. I just noticed that the one underneath, the woman underneath, isn't being held down. She's just unconscious, maybe. Maybe she's already been injected. All right, so in this issue, you got 2 angel stories and a Human Torch story. So the angel is tasked with finding out how U.S. Navy ship movements are being leaked to the Nazis. After that, the angel tracks down a pole vaulting escaped convict on a murderous rampage. And finally, the Human Torch and Toro follow a kidnapper to his hideout at an amusement park. So that second angel story about the pole vaulting escaped convict, I love it. So they have like these sports meets where they're doing track and field against one prison against another. So now it's just good times at the prison. You just, all right, I'll go to prison. I'm a track star. I'll do that and compete. What? Come on. That's ridiculous. And I did say that the pole vaulting escaped convict went on a murderous rampage. And here's an example. I thought this was a little gruesome and definitely poked a hole right through the officer with his spear, and a little bloody. It's a little more gruesome than you see in these pages. Generally not too much blood, and certainly not in this kind of fashion. This one stood out for me. All right, Police Comics #36. It's from Quality, November 1944. I've seen better covers from Jack Cole. This doesn't. I mean, it's fun and all, but it just doesn't. Nothing exciting there. Plastic Man and Woozy Winks figure out that a gang of thieves are using a remote health farm as a hideout. This is a splash page from that story. Did you find any of Slick Dandy's mob yet, Woozy? Nope, nothing unusual here, but a couple of striped pigs. That was fun. It reminded me of standing in line at a grocery store as a kid when all I could do was read the covers of the Archie comics. There always be a gag on there. Thought that was fun. And then in the last story, Human Bomb, and Eustace Throckmorton get their man on the third try when they were after a killer who targets handsome young men. Okay, well, that's it. Those are the 10 issues, 10 stories. So what do you think? What's going to be here? Let's do a quick recap here. Go back. Actually, we're done. Pucha. All right. Here's the recap of the. Here's the 10 issues that we're looking at today. So out of these 10, which one do you think has the highest sales recently? I mean, I've yet to see a comic from the Marvel family be one of the big books of the week, but I'm holding out hope. I feel like one day one of these books will really stand out. There'll be a good key in there, but you never know. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. I don't know. Is one of the DC books. You got Comet Cavalcade, Detective Comics, Flash Comics, More Fun Comics. You got a quality comic from Police, and then you got the two timelies, Miss America Magazine and Mystic Comics. I know where my money was when I was reading these, but you make up your own decision. So without further ado, let's see where they landed. Hacha. So I'd say these all had good mid to high grade sales, with the Captain Marvel Adventures kind of at the bottom there, 5.0 from September 2020 for $94. I did give the big book of the week to Miss America Magazine for the 9.4 that sold in November 2019 for $16,800. That has to be due to the Patsy Walker first appearance in that issue. Now, I'm saying I ended up putting it first because the Mystic Comics seem to have overall higher sales more recently in more grades, but the Miss America Magazine had a couple of sales. There was one really low sale for like $4,000 from a couple of years ago. Lower grade, like a 5.0 or 6 for $4,000, and then this one was $16,800. Now it's just interesting because in all other grades that I could find sales for, it seemed that the prices were a lot lower, and there were these two standout sales that really jacked it up. So I gave it to Miss America Magazine because of that. Otherwise, it was going to Mystic Comics because of the overall high sales in a lot of grades, but nothing that really propelled it to the front spot. And after that, you have, I guess, everybody else. Now, Master Comics was 5.0 from April of 2021 for $100, and there's only 9 of those on the census. So that was the one that has the least amount of issues graded on the CGC census. But you can definitely see how the Detective Comics came out a lot lower than the Mystic Comics and the Flash Comics, which all had 7.0 sales as their most recent sales. Police Comics lower, even 7.5 for only 216. But you had Captain Marvel Jr. Captain Marvel Jr., I can only see 2 sales there, both from 2014. So $2,000 for a 9.2 is a great sale. Just, I wish there was more data. There's a bunch on the census. So it's not like there's less than 10. I think there's a couple dozen on the census. There's just no sales for this thing. Nothing recorded anyway. Sure, may have sold out other places that were recorded, but I work with the data I have. So there you have it. Miss America Magazine number 2 is the big book of the week this week. And we'll give it to Miss America Magazine with that big first appearance that's in there. I didn't read the story. I don't care to. That's not for me. I'm not reading about Patsy Walker. Like I said, till she becomes Hellcat much later on. So that's it. Is there 10 more books that I was reading about? Lots of Marvel family still. A little bit of Radar. So that was good. A little bit of Batman and Robin. They got the Wonder Woman, Green Lantern, Flash. Those guys are all in there. It's great. Mystic Comics still rolling along. So that's the second issue of the series. Got an issue 100 out of there. So that was great. It was a really good, another good set of 10. Hey, thanks for watching. Appreciate your time. Please comment and we'll keep the discussion going. Thank you very much.